Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Supporter Hashtag Creatives podcast, hosted by StreamYard. It's Monday once again, and I'm happy to be here. Today, our guest is LaTaunya Howard, founder and CEO of the Howard Corporate Center, and we'll be talking about that and a bunch of other subjects. So, LaTaunya, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, Alan, thank you for allowing me to come on and join you tonight. I'm very excited to have a conversation with you. And, I don't know where to begin, but I'll start by saying that I am a small business owner. I love small business owners. And the space that I focus on to support small business owners is commercial real estate. So I'm looking forward to talking more about that and the different types of resources that I provide to really help to level the playing field for small business owners.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us, we're going to first focus on Howard Corporate Center, LLC. Tell us about it and about what serviced office space is all about.
Absolutely. So back in 2012, that seems so long ago now,
Yeah.
but in 2012, I opened Howard Corporate Center, which, as you said, is a shared workspace business. There are a lot of different names for the same business model. A common word that people hear nowadays is co-working. There's also executive suites. In my books, I refer to it as service office space. But effectively, what it is a way for small business owners to have a professional presence, to have access to commercial real estate without the time investment and the financial investment that comes with the more traditional models of commercial real estate. So again, I opened Howard Corporate Center back in 2012 in Laurel. 12 years later, I am still located in Laurel, centrally located between Baltimore and Washington. And we provide a range of services to help small businesses access commercial real estate without breaking the bank. One of the services that we provide is what we call a virtual office or corporate ID, where a small business can have a real address, if you will, without using a PO box or their home address. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have small business owners that use us as their full-time office, again, without the financial and time investment that comes along with taking a lease on their own, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what encouraged you to create this in the first place?
Well, it's really an interesting story, and I talk about it in my book, so I won't elaborate too much because I'm sure the readers would want to read it themselves. But, before opening Howard Corporate Center in 2012, I, like many small business owners I've talked to, had a career in the corporate world, if you will. My W-2 world encompassed primarily governmental financial management and budgeting. And during that time, I got a taste of entrepreneurship, as I like to say. I had applied for a job and I didn't get the job, but they liked me so much, they asked me if I would be interested in coming in as a contractor. I, of course, said yes. And from that point on, I had an entrepreneurial itch. And even though after that first entree into entrepreneurship, I did go back into the W-2 world, I always had that interest that was piqued in the back of my mind. So fast forward to 2012, I was looking for a business to start. And as I was doing some other types of small business projects as a consultant, I came across a shared workspace business that was in my neighborhood that I hadn't even known about had I not done a basic Google search. And I really enjoyed the way I felt when I was working there. I liked the idea of being in a professional environment. I like the idea of being out of my house. So when I was exploring different business models to begin, I thought about that particular model. I liked the way that I felt when I was a user, and I wanted to help other small business owners feel the same way. So that's how that story began. It started off as me really being a user and wanting to continue to scratch that entrepreneurial itch that I got.
Oh, there you go. You put a favorable experience that you saw and put it into action. Fantastic.
Absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, do your clients, the one who actually uses the office space there, is it primarily small business, or are there even bigger businesses that might even use that space from time to time?
I would say that it's primarily the small business owners, but we definitely can service larger businesses. In fact, we have and we do. We've serviced government contractors, for example, who may need a temporary space for a project that they're working on in the area. We've supported larger businesses that perhaps were headquartered on the West Coast, but they wanted to have a presence in a smaller footprint on the East Coast. So we definitely do support businesses of all sizes, but our sweet spot, of course, is the small business owner.
Yeah. And is it do the terms? Do you have different terms, like in length of time that that I can think a company might want to be using your space?
Different terms for the length of time, is
The
that what
amount
you're?
of time that they might want to lease the space for.
Well, we do have different plans and programs. So folks can use our space for as little as an hour if that's
Mm.
all they need, or they can use our space full time. So we do have different packages that we offer depending upon where on the spectrum they need support and what really fits their budget. And we really pride ourselves on the flexibility and the scalability of our plans. I always encourage people to don't take on more services than you think you need to get started, because as your business grows, you can always add on a different plan or expand what your current program is that you've decided to sign on for initially. So yes, we do have different packages that have varying price points and that have varying degrees of access to the space depending upon what their needs are. So we really try to meet the business owner wherever they are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And let's see. Let's see what the next question. Let's see. Um, what does the how did the pandemic influence your what happened at Howard Corporate Center?
Well, that is a very loaded question. The COVID pandemic back in 2020 definitely impacted a lot of industries, and the shared workspace and commercial industries were not exempt from that at all. I would say that, well, one of the good things that happened for us is that we were allowed to stay open during the pandemic because one of the services that we provide is mail service. We do collect and distribute mail on behalf of clients who use that service. That enabled us to stay open because we provided that service. So we never closed because of COVID. But as you might expect, when COVID effectively forced people to work at home, for lack of a better word, that caused people to rethink their office space needs and the degree of, space outside of their home or somewhere other than the office that they might have worked in prior to the COVID. People began to think differently about that. And that's still very much the case now. That became a new normal for many workers. Many have completely remote jobs now, and some employers provide a hybrid model where employees work on site a certain number of days and then can work from home a certain number of days. So that, of course, has changed the demand for certain types of office space. Now, we still do have people who need to be in an office space because that's just their preference, or that might be something that their industry requires, that they do have a brick and mortar, if you will. But it definitely did impact us. But we small business owners, we're creative and we know how to pivot before pivoting was even a term. So we come up with ways to meet business owners where they are when their environment causes us to do things a little bit differently. And that's certainly what we've been doing at Howard Corporate Center.
Yeah. Yes, pivoting. That's one of the words I'm always most interested in. I typically always ask my guests about pivoting because of some roadblock thrown in your way, and you actually just explained it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So you recognize that the things definitely changed due to the pandemic. I know it certainly changed for me, but you're still there and still doing your providing your service.
Yes, absolutely. And,
Yeah.
if I can, since we're talking about commercial real estate and the pandemic, of course, as we've talked about already, I have a shared workspace business where I rent out offices and meeting rooms to small businesses at a fraction of the cost of traditional commercial real estate. But I am also a licensed commercial real estate agent. So I cover both the traditional and the non-traditional side of commercial real estate, as I like to say. And just like the pandemic impacted the shared workspace industry to some extent, the same is true with the traditional side. So, but you would find that that can vary depending upon the product, where you might have a challenge finding industrial workspaces or warehouse type workspaces because of implications that came out of the COVID pandemic, people needing more storage space and the like. Office space tends to have a little bit more availability. So for those watching and listening who might have an interest in office space, you might have more options now to buy or lease than you might have had before COVID. So now would be a good time to connect with a real estate agent like myself to see what your options might be.
Yes. Well, how will people get in touch with you? Can they do it via the link on the screen, or is there a different way of contacting you relative to the real estate side of what you were just talking about?
They can contact me via the link on the screen for both the traditional, as I call it, the buy, sell, lease commercial real estate, or Howard Corporate Center.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so did you get started in real estate before or after you started Howard Corporate?
I got started in the traditional side. I decided to get my license a few years after I started Howard Corporate Center.
Oh, okay.
And that's another interesting story is that when I, again, opened Howard Corporate Center in 2012, one of the things I quickly discovered is that I was missing out on an opportunity to continue on the customer journey without having a license. And let me explain that a little bit further. At some point, a business owner might be a client of mine using our space or our meeting rooms, and eventually their business will grow to the point where they are ready to take on a space of their own. That's a good thing for the client. It's bittersweet for me, but that's a great thing when your business grows to the point where you can take on more space, where you need more space. However, when I didn't have a license, I wasn't really able to help them go out and find a space or even do market analysis, in a meaningful way for them, because I didn't have access to certain types of resources that help licensed people do that. So that was a motivation for me to get my license, really so that I can continue on the customer journey. So when I have a client that has been with me for a few years, but their business has grown and their team has grown to the point that my space can no longer fit their needs, I can then help them to lease a larger space if that's what they want, or buy a larger space. Similarly, sometimes I've had people come to me as a potential client and they like the space, but for whatever reason, they later discovered that they needed to have their own space versus a shared space. Then again, I can help them because I have a license. If what we provide through Howard Corporate Center isn't the best fit for them, then certainly I can help them to buy or at least something that is a better fit for them. So having that license really opened the door for me to provide more services and more support to my clients. So that's how that came to be.
Yes, very interesting story about people might end up graduating from Howard Corporate Center into their own space.
Exactly. And again, it's very bittersweet, but that's what we're here for. We're here to level the playing field, give people the time that they need to get the traction that they need while still having a corporate presence, and then they can evolve to the next stage in their business journey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me stop for a moment. I want to introduce myself and my organization, Support #Creatives. And I'm the founder of the organization, Support #Creatives. And the goal of this organization is to level the playing field so that people of all different demographics have the same chance as everybody else to have their projects made and seen. I'm also on the board of directors of the Bella Levy Foundation. And the goal of the Bella Levy Foundation is to fight human trafficking and provide a safe space for its warriors. So it's interesting, the fact that you'd be both leveling the playing field in some of the stuff that we do. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Can you talk about the course that you're coming up with, the real estate course?
Yes. So, one of the things that I think you can probably relate to, Alan, and those watching and listening, is that when you are an entrepreneur, the creativity really just flows, and you're always looking for new ways to satisfy the needs and wants of your target market. So, when I opened Howard Corporate Center in 2012, I was really excited to be able to provide commercial real estate as a solution, something that small business owners could access, again, without breaking the bank. And I also just mentioned that I eventually, a few years after that, got my license, my commercial real estate license, as a way to continue supporting business owners. I wrote, a few years after I got my license, I actually wrote my first book, which I can come back to. But to answer your question about the course, that is the next evolution of how I support small business owners, a different modality, and really to help people get a little bit of a look under the hood of commercial real estate. One of the things that I discovered when I began working with clients in the more traditional commercial real estate realm, is that a lot of times they just don't know what questions to ask. And certainly as an agent, as their representative, I can help to educate them. But I also believe in empowering people and arming them with information they need to make informed decisions. And one of the objectives of this course is to do just that, to give people access to a resource that will help them to understand some of the fundamentals and basics of commercial real estate, so that when they do work with an agent, they have a little bit of knowledge about what they are entering into and know what questions to ask. And that would actually make it a more fruitful transaction for both the agent and the buyer or seller, whatever part of the transaction the student is in. So I'm very excited that, later this year, I'm going to formally launch the course. It's actually been something I've been thinking about for many, many years. So I'm excited that finally it's coming to fruition. And it's just another way that I can support the small business owner community and educate folks about how they can empower themselves in the commercial real estate field.
Yeah. So, in terms of what is the geographic scope of your commercial real estate activity in terms of when they're going off to find their own space? Is it just in the Laurel area, or is it wider than that?
So I'm licensed in the state of Maryland. Licenses and real estate is state specific. So I'm licensed in Maryland, but my broker is licensed in Maryland, Virginia, DC, and some other states. So so that's the short answer. And most of the people that I have helped close transactions since 2016, when I got my license, have been in Maryland, but I have also supported and closed transactions in other states as well. But yes, it's specific to a state. That's the case for all real estate licenses. So for me, again, I'm in the state of Maryland.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, we'll continue our discussion in a moment, but first we're going to have a brief commercial message. I'm Alan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Our Creatives. At Support Our Creatives, I offer a number of services to support those developing a project. Check out the services tab of my website at supportourcreatives.com. If you are interested, please use the contact tab on my website or email me directly at alan@supportourcreatives.com. Okay, and we're back. Yes. So before we move on to our next subject, do you have anything more to say about your real estate activities?
The only thing else I would ask, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead, and not so much ask, but add, is the discussion about my books, Kill the Rent, Grow Your Biz. Is it okay if I talk about that, or was that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can talk about that now. That's fine.
And I think it's important because it again is part of my evolution as a business owner, but also another way that I help small business owners. So I mentioned before that a few years after I opened Howard Corporate Center in 2012, I realized I was missing an opportunity to help businesses on their entrepreneurial journey once they graduated from my space. So that's what motivated me to get my commercial real estate license. Something else that I also discovered very early on in operating Howard Corporate Center is that there was a knowledge gap. There are people who to this day still are not aware that the idea of shared workspace, the idea of renting an office or a meeting room for an hour, for example, is something that is available to them. It's still a very novel concept to them. So even though the industry has been around for decades, I think 40 plus decades, it's still very much a novel concept to many people. So in 2018, that knowledge gap motivated me to write my first book, Kill the Rent, Grow Your Biz. And I'm proud to say that it was an Amazon bestseller. It is available on Amazon and some other sites. But the whole purpose of the book is to educate potential users about the shared workspace industry, as well as the pros and cons, and how they can navigate the very saturated marketplace. There are so many providers that provide these services, but users, I felt and still feel, need a tool, an objective tool that would help them to decide which solution is best for me. So Kill the Rent, Grow Your Biz closed that knowledge gap. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. A lot of folks really feel that they were more empowered and educated about shared workspace, and they can make more intelligent decisions about it if that's a good solution for them or not. So that was another part of my evolution. And since we talked about COVID a few moments ago, in 2020, at the end of 2020, after the height of the pandemic, or at least the initial leg of it, if you will, I decided to write a follow-up to Kill the Rent, Grow Your Biz, subtitled After COVID-19, because as you asked initially, the pandemic really changed the dynamics of office space and whether there was a need. So I felt that begged the question if there was still a space for shared workspace in a post-COVID environment, and if so, to what extent. So that's what that book answers. So yeah, there are so many different ways I try to help small business owners, whether it's through my Howard Corporate Center shared workspace business, through representation as your commercial real estate agent if you're in the market to buy, sell, or lease, through my books, and later this year through my course. It's really about inundating people with information and resources to empower them and to enable them to make more informed decisions about their commercial real estate options.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't it true that in the book you talk about that rather than, if you're starting business, rather than meeting in, let's say, Starbucks or something like that, it'd be better to go into the service office space environment when you're just starting up. So say a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So, a lot of small business owners, again, because they feel that they don't have the money to do anything other than working out of a coffee shop or some other type of public venue like a library or whatever the case is, they do that without necessarily knowing that it could be impacting their credibility. I just had a meeting not too long ago where I reminded people that, look, when you use a PO box, or if you work out of a coffee shop or some other public venue, you may think that it's saving you money by doing that, but it's actually costing you something. It's costing you your credibility. It's costing consumer confidence potentially in what you're doing. Imagine if you're wanting to talk about something sensitive with someone, whether it's financial information or something otherwise personal, and the person wants to meet you in a coffee shop or something. That person is going to think a little bit differently of you as a professional than if you worked in a professional environment like Howard Corporate Center. So yeah, there are some people who work out of coffee shops because maybe that's just their preference, and that's fine. But what I would just encourage people is to know that you do have other options, and that it isn't going to break your bank, and it's very affordable to rent an office or a conference room for an hour or so. And if after being exposed to that option, your preference is still to work in a coffee shop, then by all means do that. But my goal is just to educate people and make them aware of what their options are.
Yes, it makes sense that to be more professional looking, to be in an actual office.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's not only professional from the perspective of the person that you're meeting with, but it actually will probably make you feel more confident about yourself. And let's not even talk about the distractions, the noise, and the lack of privacy, and all of the other things that come along with working out of a public venue, but it could be beneficial not only from a credibility standpoint, but also from a psychological standpoint. It would really help you to have more confidence about yourself. And then that's going to come across in how you present yourself to your prospects and your clients.
Yes. And of course, the kill the rent part of the title, I think you probably have touched on that already. That isn't true. That has to do with the fact that rather than going off and trying to rent an office by yourself, at the start, it might be more financially advantageous to go to a serviced office space.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head. It's you kill the rent because for most businesses, rent or mortgage is the highest non-personnel expense in their budget. So if there's a way we can reduce that, then let's do it. So like I mentioned before, you don't have to take on the financial commitment or the time commitment that comes along with taking on a 3 to 5 year lease, for example. You can rent an office or a conference room for an hour or for a day or for a month, whatever time frame you need it for. And that gives you the flexibility, not only with your time, but also your budget. You can actually have that access to commercial real estate without breaking the bank. You can kill the rent.
Yes. I mean, it's such a great concept, this whole service office space concept, which I did not know about, until I actually came to your particular location.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I came there to meet with a lawyer because I wanted to trademark support hashtag creatives, and that's how I met LaTaunya. Yes. And we started working together, and we're gonna get to that subject shortly. But yeah, but the book is definitely for someone who wants to start a business. It's a great place to start. Read to take a look at that book.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, and so now we're going to another subject which we call C-suite on your street, and that's where LaTaunya and I started working together. I think it was back in 2018.
I think you're right. I was thinking 2018 as well.
Yeah. So I'd like to have her explain the C-suite on your street, what that's all about.
Yes. You're right that 2018 was the year that you and I first met, and I think around that time I was conceptualizing this whole notion of C-suite on your street, specifically as a TV show for the public access TV station that the city of Laurel has. And, it's always been a pleasure working with you, Alan. And, you've always chimed in and provided good ideas and helped with the content development of that. But the short description of C-suite on your street is that it started off as a television show, again, supporting small business owners and speaking to small business owners. And the whole notion of C-suite on your street was to really capture the fact that just because you're a small business owner doesn't mean that you have to think small. You can think like a C-suite executive, even if you're on the main street of a small town or the like. So that kind of is the feeling and the sentiment that we came up with behind the title C-suite on your street. And the show is it's not running live, if you will, on Laurel TV, but the episodes are still available on my website, and they may still be available as reruns on Laurel TV. But what we did was we would, I think it was once a month, we would have someone come in, a subject matter expert, talk on things that are important to small business owners, whether it's marketing or resources that are available through the city of Laurel. So we had an attorney come in and talk about different things that business owners need to be aware of when they're thinking about their business structure, an LLC versus a sole proprietorship, for example. So C-suite on your street is definitely one of my favorite projects. I mean, I love all of my projects, but C-suite on your street has a very special place in my heart because it was an opportunity, Alan, for you and I to work together. And we're still working together on that through the Facebook page, C-suite on your street. And I might re-enliven C-Suite on Your Street again as a TV show again, or another podcast. We'll see what the future holds for that. But yeah, C-Suite on Your Street, another way to help small business owners and to provide them with resources directly from subject matter experts in this case.
Yes, that's right. And once again, you can have access to the episodes by going to the Howard Corporate Center website.
Yeah, howardcorporate.com, and click on C-Suite, and you can look at all of the episodes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and there it is again. Yeah, and one of my roles is I actually built the Facebook page for
yes,
LaTaunya, and
yes.
and there are a lot of interesting posts on there relative to business, and so that's the Facebook side of it. But there's also be a great wealth of knowledge by watching the episodes that you can access from the website.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it really turned into a nice curriculum, I think, because we covered such a broad range of topics that all small business owners need to be aware of. And then one of the things that was very important to me is that there were actions. It's all about action. So there were action steps and recommendations and resources that were provided at the end of every episode that could continue the learning beyond the airing of the TV show itself.
Yeah. So basically, there's another way besides reading the book, the contacting LaTaunya about the real estate aspect of it, and of course the C-Suite on Your Street. So there's all kinds of resources that you can access for
absolutely.
If you're starting a business and need a physical space and whatever the different things you might want to know about business. And I'm looking forward to you're starting up again in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to you being a part of that, Alan. So I'm going to come to you and tap into your brain again.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna pause again for another commercial, and then we'll be right back. Okay. I'm Alan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Creatives. If you make something, albeit make a movie, start a business, write a book, make a physical product, run a nonprofit, promote people, are a songwriter, etc., you too are a creative, and I would love to have you be a guest on the Support Creatives podcast. If you want to be featured on this podcast, please use the contact tab on my website at supportourcreatives.com or email me directly at alan@supportourcreatives.com. Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else you would like to touch on today, LaTaunya?
Again, I'm just thankful for the opportunity, Alan, to be on the show and to speak with your listeners virtually, if you will. And I would just encourage all of your listeners, particularly those who are small business owners, whether you're currently a small business owner or an aspirational small business owner, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any commercial real estate questions, whether you are in the market for a commercial real estate product or not. I really am truly passionate about simply educating people about the resources that are available to them and helping them to achieve their goals. So I would just, welcome, the opportunity to have a discussion with anyone who might be interested. And, thank you once again, Alan, for the opportunity.
When you start your course, will people be able to get information about it by going to the same website, Howard Corporate?
Absolutely. Yes, they can go. You can go to howardcorporate.com. That is our main website, and it has different access points, if you will, based on whatever service you're interested in. For the educational resources, whether it's the book or the course, it will be C-Suite. That is our educational arm, and from there you will be able to follow the logic, if you will, to get a discovery call or to sign up for the course directly.
Yes, it's definitely great to have a one-stop shop.
Absolutely.
Go to that link on the screen. Remember that, because there's where you get all the great information, all the great opportunities.
Yes.
That LaTaunya offers. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, well, I'd like to thank you for being with us today, and I want to let people know that this episode will also be repurposed and eventually will be seen on Spotify. So and the notification will be sent out when it's available. So once again, thanks LaTaunya for being on, and everybody, please appreciate those who tuned in today, those watching the replay on Spotify, and I'm looking forward to having you be on my next show. So with that, I would say good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Okay.
Here's a message about Crystal Starnes, advocate for victims, and podcaster.
Are you an entrepreneur, actor, music artist, or someone trying to make a difference in the community, or have a story that could help someone suffering in silence? If your answer is yes, then you need to check out Crystal Starnes' various podcast shows that she produces and hosts. Come on one of her shows and make a difference. Promote your business on her platforms. Ask her about package deals to get your brand more noticed. Want a commercial about your business done by her voice? She also offers package deals for that service. You can find her at crystalstarneshow.com and voiceforvictimsradio.com. Also, if you want access to all her podcast shows and blogs, join her community awareness page for just $4.99 a month. That's right, just $4.99 a month. Then you would have access at a click of a button to her various platforms. Crystal Starnes is trying to make a difference for all people in the world. She wants to help as many people as she can so no one is suffering in silence. Anyone who has a vision and wants to achieve their dream, she has the passion to help promote you to get you to the next level of success.